Great. Wow, those are lights bright. I'm here to talk about AI and VFX, the only topic that would be more exciting than nanocolor. And like any VFX professional, these colored slides are something a little bit bright for me, so I'm going to switch to dark mode. I guess I'll just dive right in and sort of, maybe we'll do a little bit of a calisthenics exercise to begin, just so I know where everybody's at and to exercise and get ready for lunch. Because I'm what's between you and food. So, ML glossary. So I'm just going to run through and say, like, how many people in the audience know what a convolutional neural network is? Good. Maybe a residual network. Oh, okay. Autoencoders? Oh yeah, all right. Transformers? Probably everybody here? Yeah, okay. Well, this is what Dolly thinks a vision transformer, a block diagram for a vision transformer is. I think it's a little bit overcomplicated. And it also has invented new words for the English language, which is kind of fun. But I'm actually not going to talk about any of that, really, because that's not what the point of this talk is. More, I wanted to talk a little bit about what problems we're facing in our industry in relation to AI or machine learning, whatever you want to call it. The first up, the big gorilla in the room is rights management, and that topic is something that I hope we all care about deeply, right? We value what we create for our clients. Our clients value what they're creating. Our actors, our artists, everybody cares about the product that they produce, and so we should care what happens to that product. And so there's no question that this is a big problem. But I would also argue that actually we're already kind of doing this. We spend inordinate amounts of time worrying about our security and our data, making sure that people can't steal it, making sure people don't find out what's happening in the movie before it's released. And so we're already sort of ready to do this. We just need the ML frameworks to be able to do so, right? And so I sort of said I wasn't going to talk too much about the technology, but if you think of a machine learning system as you might put into production, you're going to do some training, and then, well, probably you might refine that for some sort of sequence or shot in your movie, and then you're going to run inference, and then like anything in our industry, you're going to have versions of that you're going to want to iterate between, and that's actually fairly easy if you just have your asset management system be both the inputs and the outputs, right? So your machine learning weights go into your asset system. Your training data comes out of your asset system. You can use your existing show security systems to who has access to what to store all of that, right? And so you can control where data is being used. The only sort of thing I will say is that you're probably going to have to write some custom components to be able to use that. Now, luckily, there's a bunch of projects here that you can use to do this with, but the existing open source ML-based tooling that we've experimented with seems to like to focus on, give me all of your data, please, all of it. And so you will probably have to do some of that, some customization of that to control how much a particular model can be trained with, right? To basically provide that show-based security that I think is important for the longevity of ML in this industry anyway. But you might be, so well, what about big data? Big data, give me all the data. And there is probably some level of generic data that maybe, for a particular shoot, you send out someone and they can take a picture of some rocks or something, and maybe you can consider that generic data. And so you may have some sort of Venn diagram where you have some sort of base model that you're using, and then refining per show, and that I think is okay, right? I think we've been doing this for a long time as well, right? And so I don't think that's any sort of barrier. So I think we can do rights management, and that's pretty cool. Creativity. This is a tricky one, and I'll go back to making fun of DALL-E for a moment. So when I was doing the calisthenics things, I thought I'd have a meme, and I'd have someone with like 7 fingers raising their hand. I spent, I don't know how many hours, probably 20 or 30 hours trying to get DALL-E to generate a hand with 7 fingers. As long as I used the word hand in any prompt, it would always generate 4 fingers and a thumb. And I even tried alien hands, I tried all kinds of things. And it's interesting to note that even the text that it provides has dropped the word hand, but it has obviously been trained out of being able to produce memes, and so you sort of have lost an element of creative control. Now, is this hand interesting? Sure, but it's not. It's also not what I had asked for. It was just very, very happy to provide me something that it thought it was doing, but it was really just interpolating what between the latent space that it had, and it was giving me a hand. And so not, my point is not to make fun of this, but just to point out that it's, that if you're not careful, you do lose some creative control with using these things. Right, and so is that what we're destined for, right? It is, when I come here next year, we're going to have a Wētā GPT Journey FX thing that, I say, please make me a movie with some apes or something. I don't know. I think I saw Quister back there, and he'd probably be mad at me right now. But and of course that would be generating, and then here's your movie. Is this what we're destined for? And I'll say absolutely not, right? Like this is not the point, right? We are creators, right? We are storytellers, and we're also tool makers, right? This is the human condition, right? We tell stories and we make tools. And so, what does it mean to do that, right? And so, let's leave the storytelling to the humans, and let's focus on what it means to have machine learning as a tool. And why do we want to do this in the first place? First off, let's have some more fidelity in our thing. Let's super resolution this or do whatever. That's fine. Capability. Maybe there's something that's faster to do with some sort of machine learning approximation. I don't know. It sounds good. Maybe there's an algorithm that we don't really understand, but if we show it what we want, then it'll figure out how to make what we want, and that sounds good. And so, I think the key to machine learning in our industry is really to focus on small things, on small tools, if you will. Some of them might be relatively big in scope. Don't get me wrong, but they sort of have a narrow focus, and they're about artist empowerment. And so I thought I'd run through a couple of examples, and they're a couple years old now, some of them, but they're still in active use. But you can get a flavor of the tools that we're talking about. And so, if I take a picture of a pipeline, and anybody who draws a pipeline and a line in a pipe, they're probably lying and have never worked in production. Anyway, so if I take a picture of a pipeline, and I'm going to just take a very narrow slice through that, and I'll talk about a few things, just as samples. And so, well, that's weird. The first one is this live depth comp thing that we can do in our virtual production set. And so, of course, any machine learning thing, you build your own hardware, right? No? Okay. Well, we did. It's actually, we didn't build the cameras, but we've made a small rig that bolts onto the camera system. You can kind of see it somewhere over there. And what we do while we're shooting is we stream that in and can produce a live depth map, and that allows us to basically show virtual characters in with the live action actors sort of on set in an interactive way, and that's super useful in terms of giving directors immediate feedback what it looks like to see what their CG characters are going to look like interacting with the real actors, and so you get a better performance out of that, and that seems like a win. So that's a small tool that we've made. Another one that I'll point out is some of the 3D facial modeling stuff that we've done, and BK's probably, I don't know if he's in the audience, but he and the team have there's some papers around this, and you can read more about it elsewhere. But you know, it of course hooks in, and it's about better transferring motion capture onto a virtual character, right? You know, it's about what's a better representation for faces, what's a better representation for that, and having machine learning tools help you manage the complexity of doing that, such that the animation motion artist can focus on fidelity and the performance, right? And so, you know, we started with FACS however many years ago, and I won't say too much about this, but as part of this, we developed a whole new strain system, but it's much more complex than FACS in terms of the number of parameters that you have to edit as a motion artist trying to tune a performance, right? And so you end up with a machine learning system that helps you do this and helps you do the deformation as a result. And so that's really great and gives you better character transfer, but it's done for a particular show, right? You know, it's not something that you can, someone's performance on one show isn't the same performance that's going to happen on another show. They're acting as different characters. That's not generalizable. But it does help the artist manage complexity, and it does help them focus on getting a better image. Same thing for CG denoise, right? This is more in the category of not helping artists, but making them, giving them less waiting time in the day, right? We can run a cheaper render that's denoised, and Yavor and I asked enough dumb questions until Yavor figured this out, but we had made a different kind of denoise that I think has a new form of recurrent residual networks that allows us to look better in time, to do denoising better through time. And if you like, this is a sample of a frame from Avatar 2 where you can see how much contribution was happening from the center frame in the middle, that bright part, and then the surrounding frames. There's very little information being pulled, whereas in our version it's normalized, so it's a little hard to understand. But you can see that we're pulling in more information from the surround, which allows us to denoise with higher detail, but still produce a clean image, right? And so that allows us to get some sort of compute savings where we don't have to run to as fine of a resolution in our renderer, right? And so that seems like it's a pretty useful thing. But what about that compute time and that iteration time? We're not OpenAI, and or at least my facility is not, right? We don't have the budgets that they have to have billions of computers and however many they have. And I think that we will always weight pictures and story and iterations. Those are far more important than trying to generalize a model or trying to make a model smart. Overfitting for us is fine. Right? I guess I said I wasn't going to talk about too many technical things, but I think that's a fine thing for us, right? And so that again reinforces the idea that you build small models, you empower artists, and you focus on per show data, right? And that I think allows you to still buy graphics cards that can do graphics and not just machine learning. And so the last thing that I thought I would talk a moment, and this one is definitely one that I think there isn't. It's not a written thing yet. People we don't quite know what to do. Is the subject of data authenticity, right? Can we make some sort of magic discriminator that can say, okay, I've taken some camera and I've done a bunch of renders and VFX and comped it all together, and that's a real thing. Versus someone who's taken a video and done something malicious and like, oh well, crap, right? And so we of course don't want that, right? And so we don't. There's various things out there. There's Adobe and BBC and a few others are involved with a thing called C2PA, which is sort of interesting. I don't know yet how it scales to movie scale, but there's various regulations that are around in terms of guaranteeing your work, and so all I think I can really say for this is stay tuned, because that part is not yet written, but it's an open problem, and maybe people here have good ideas. And so, to allow you to get to your lunch, I thought I would close with one thing, and I'd say, whatever you're doing with machine learning or AI, make sure you keep the fun part. The fun part for me anyway is making pictures. I don't want something to generate pictures for me as much as fun as I had making pictures. But keep the fun part in your job. As a software engineer, I heard someone speak recently about the Copilot and these things that are generating code. All they're doing is generating someone else's code that you then have to maintain, and that doesn't sound too fun to me. And so enhance creativity and keep the fun. And with that, I can allow you to ask questions, I think.